two things that we knew were codified. Number one, no mandatory postseason bubbles. It's not something the NFL wants to negotiate with the union because the NFL doesn't want to make a concession. Number two, voluntary bubbles are permitted with the caveat that it has to be players who are not living alone. Presumably, if you're living alone, you can't get in, although good luck policing whether or not someone has roommates or family members. But, I'm not surprised by this, Peter, because I think what's going to happen when it's time for the teams to lock into playoff mode, the teams that are most serious about getting to the Super Bowl are going to voluntarily go into a bubble because their team leaders are going to put the squeeze on the other players to do it.
Right. You saw that. You saw that kind of friendly pressure in the summer in New Orleans. They basically bought out the Lowe's Hotel right near the French Quarter in New Orleans, and everybody, like 135 people of the 170 approximately, who were the tier 1 and 2 employees and the players, they chose to stay in the hotel. Now, I think, Mike, one of the bigger things that's happened here, you would have had the players, and I think the players' union on the side of this, if, and a big if there were a lot of huge problems during the season. There really haven't been a lot of huge problems during the season. And in addition, and I wrote about this on Monday in my column, the contact tracing program in the NFL has got to be the envy of every other business in the United States. The amount of money the NFL is spending on some of the best epidemiologists in the country to contact trace, and I followed one player getting, testing positive for the coronavirus, and then how the team found the one of the other close contacts on his team who also tested positive 4 days later. And the NFL has done a good job of finding these people, isolating these people, keeping them alone for 5 days. And then if they don't test positive at the end of that, they go back in the team. This guy tested positive on the 4th day after exposure to the original guy who tested positive. That is what the NFL can do because of the humongous amount of money they're spending. So I think players are saying, we don't need a bubble. We've already got all of these other things that we're doing that basically act as a bubble.
It's been amazing what the NFL has done. I mean, to everything, Peter, you just said, the protocols they've put in place, the fact that we've gotten this far with, like you've said, very few hiccups is all amazing. But man, I don't know. I don't think I could risk it. If I was, Patrick Mahomes and company, I'm chasing a legacy, Drew Brees and company. Let me solidify myself as a, top 5, top 10 quarterback of all time if I can get to a Super Bowl. I mean, you're right, Peter. We haven't seen a lot of teams, for the most part, it's been successful. But, we do have I don't know, the New England Patriots. What would their year be look like if Cam Newton had not got COVID? I bet you they'd be a lot more in this playoff conversation right now. So, man, do you want to risk that? That, to me, is just the big thing. We see that you can do everything right, and it still can get, grab a part of your football team that way. And I would think more times than not, some of the big leaders in the locker room are going to try to edge or nudge their team, to go this direction because of some of those reasons.
The other side of the coin is this, and this is a concept mentioned in the memo that was sent yesterday. The hotel experience still entails risk. You have to keep the guys separate. One of the things Mahomes told me after the win on Sunday over the Dolphins, they were back in the same hotel they stayed in prior to the Super Bowl. He stayed in the same room he stayed in prior to the Super Bowl. It brought back a lot of memories, but the difference is you can't hang out. You can't congregate. You can't be around the guys. And as you get into an extended stretch, week after week, day after day, in this voluntary bubble, can you ensure that there's enough distance at all times among the players in order to keep the virus from getting into the bubble? and screwing everything up that way.
Well,
Chris.
why do you have to do that, Mike? Why? Like, I mean, if they're in the freaking bubble, they can't like hang out with each other in the bubble. That to me doesn't make sense. You know, that
you got to stay apart. You still got to stay apart because if one got, because of the donut holes in the testing and the incubation period, if one guy ends up getting it somehow, some way, you don't want him to spread it to the rest of the guys.
Man,
because they can't detect it until it's too late.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.